All right. Today we are comparing and ordering rational numbers. Yesterday we talked about rational numbers. We talked about their opposites and integers and absolute values with rational numbers. Today we're focusing on comparing and ordering them. So if you notice, our number line is only 0 to 1. So we're only working within that 0 to 1 range. But does that mean that my numbers stop once I get down to 0 and once I get up to 1? No, they could keep going. Okay, so you know that there can be negatives. You know that there's going to be numbers greater than 1 also. Your practice later today involves negatives and numbers greater than 1. So we're going to be practicing with a partner today. Comparing and ordering numbers on a number line. So before we start, we're going to fill in the missing decimals or fractions for this number line. So right now this number line is counting by, what's our scale? Does anybody know what it's counting by?
Tens.
Not tens.
Twos.
Tenths. Yes. You just got to put that THS at the end. It was tenths. Yeah. So on the top row, we're going to add in 0.1, so 1/10, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. We already have 0.7, and then we'll add in 0.8. Underneath that is where our fractions go. Now, we're doing 6th grade math. So I expect now that at this point in time, we automatically start reducing fractions. Oh my goodness, the sneezing all of a sudden like came out of nowhere. I got sneezing. Whew. Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. All of you. Okay. So for the fractions, a fraction that is equivalent to 0.1 is 1/10. And the correct way to read that fraction is 1/10, not 1/10. And we don't say 0.1. We read them both the same way. They're both read 1/10. Underneath the 2/10, am I going to write 2/10 or should I write something else?
Something else.
Emerson. 1/5. Very good. I want to write 1/5. It's okay to know that it is the same as 2/10, but I like reduced fractions. Okay, then we have 3/10 that cannot be simplified. Then I move on and I have 4/10, but written as a decimal. What would I write, Susie? Yeah. It would be 2/5. And again, it's okay to know that it's the same thing as 4/10. Then I have 5/10. Everybody? Very good. Then I have 3/5. Then I have 7/10, because that can't be reduced. And then I have 8/10, which is, what would I write, Chris? 4/5, which is the same as 8/10. Okay. Now, I have a question. I have a question that says, which decimal is equivalent to 1/4? So right here, we are going to write 1/4 because this little arrow is pointing to where it would be here on the number line. What decimal is equivalent to that? You guys should know. What is it, everybody?
4. Wait, what? Oh my gosh.
What decimal?
0.4.
0.25. It is a quarter. Whoever said that, you are right. Please turn around. Please turn around. Stop talking to the people behind you. Okay, 0.25. 25 hundredths is the same as a fourth. Okay, Now we're going to move down just a little bit and we are going to look at these and we're going to compare. We can use the number line to help us compare these decimals and fractions. If you are ever given decimals and fractions, you need to choose one that you want to convert the other to. So if you like decimals a lot better, then you may want to change all of your fractions into a decimal before you compare them or order them, especially ordering them. Okay, comparing's not as difficult because you're really just looking at two numbers, but when you have more than two, it starts getting confusing. So we're going to practice that in just a minute. Okay, so right here I have 2/10 and I have 1/2. Looking at my number line, which one is going to be greater?
1/2.
The 1/2 is greater, so I'm going to write the less than sign because 2/10 is less than 1/2. What do I write for the next one? 3/5 is greater than 4/10. 7/10 is less than 4/5, and 50/100 is equal to 1/2. Okay, so this is what I was just talking about a second ago. When we order fractions and decimals, I now have more than two numbers and it gets a little more tricky to keep everything straight. We either want to convert, which means change, but it's a word that you need to know. What happened to my, there it is. I either want to convert the fractions to equivalent decimals, or I want to change the decimals to equivalent fractions. It's whatever you prefer. It's whatever you like better. If you absolutely love fractions, then change all your decimals to fractions. Me personally, I like to change my fractions to decimals because I like to stack them and then order them. It's just the way my brain works. But I want you to choose what you like and what works best for you. All right. So everybody has a favorite. Everybody has a favorite way of solving something. So you're going to choose what way you enjoy solving this best, okay? So now I'm going to order from greatest to least. Before I do, I'm going to change all of these fractions. I'm going to write them as equivalent decimals because right now my fractions have different denominators. In order to truly compare and order them, I would need to, if I were to change all of them to fractions, I would have to have the same denominator for every single fraction. So it's a little easier and quicker to change those fractions to decimals. So 1/2 as a decimal is 0.5. 1/4, we already said, is 0.25, but 3/4 is
0.7.
very good. Okay, so now I'm going to use these just to help me order them. So I'm going to put them on a number line. I know that 0.25 will go here. 0.2 goes on the bottom at the beginning. Right after 0.4 is going to be 0.5. After that, I have 0.6. This is going to be 0.75. And then I'm already given the 0.8. But I do have to make sure that I include that. Okay. So now, when I go to order these numbers, this is what I'm ordering. Do you think I'm going to write the equivalent decimal for the 1/2?
Yeah.
Or do you think I'm going to write the 1/2?
Equivalent decimal.
The 1/2. I'm going to write what I was originally given. So I want to make sure that I am ordering these exact rational numbers in order greatest to least. This is just to help me do it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to look at our number line and determine which of these numbers that I was given would get listed first as the greatest. Which one goes first?
I know.
Mm-hmm.
3, 4. Wait.
Out of that whole set, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers that I need to list. Which one goes first? Yes, how do I read that number? How do I read this? 8/10. Good. Okay. Next is going to be, I'm going to mark that out on my list. Okay, done. Which one goes next? Cruz. 3/4. I'm going to mark that out on my list. Okay. Which one goes next? Catherine.
0.6.
Which I read it like?
0 and 6/10.
Very good. Okay, mark that one out. Moving on down, what would come next, Presley?
1/2.
Wow, I have one, Presley. Thank you, Presley. 1/2. Moving on down, what comes next? Raise your hand. Kingston.
1/4.
1/4. And then last is going to be, everybody?
2/10.
2/10. Good. Okay. All right, you and your table, listen carefully. I want you and your table to look at the two problems on the right side. Look at number 1, because number 1, every single fraction has a different denominator. Remember how I said if you love fractions, this is where your passion comes out. Changing all of these fractions to have the same denominator. Think about pizza. I love pizza for fractions because we love to eat pizza, most of us. I need your attention. Imagine you have a pizza. Typically, they split a pizza into 8 pieces, right? That was terrible. I apologize. There. Okay. I'm waiting. I only have one fraction that's actually written to the 8ths. Half of the pizza we know would be this much right here. I have 3/8 of a pizza. But then if I wanted to make sure that they were all, I was giving everybody the same amount, okay? How many pieces would I have to slice this pizza into based on the fractions that are listed?
32.
32 pieces, yeah. Because I have a denominator of 32, I need to make sure that all of my fractions are out of 32 so I can see exactly how many pieces that's equal to. Okay, so I'm doing equivalent fractions before I can order them. So you're going to have to rewrite each of these. So you're going to let's just take this first one for example, okay? I'm going to erase this, get it out of my way so I have some working space. Okay, so I'm going to start with 5/16. I'm going to write it out of 32. So what do I do to 16 to get to 32? Times, or double it, times 2. So then times 2 for 5 means that my numerator would then be 10. So if I doubled 16 to get 32, I double 5 to get 10. It's an equivalent fraction. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for 3/8. I'm going to change it to make it out of 32 also. So 8 times what is 32? 4. So 3 times 4 means it would be 12 out of 32. 7/16 would change to
14.
Because I doubled it again. So 16 times 2 gave me 32. 7 times 2 is 14. And then we all know 1/2. It's just got to be 16. Okay, so these are the fractions that I'm working with. So if I'm trying to order from least to greatest, I want to focus on these fractions here, plus the ones that are already out of 32. So I'm looking at all 4 of those. I want to find the one that has the smallest numerator. Which one would that be?
32.
The smallest numerator. Remember, my numerator is my top number. 9. Out of all these 2. Remember, I had these that are already out of 30 seconds. But then I had to change all of these. So now I'm looking at all of my top numbers, and that's all I have to look at in order to order them in the correct order. Okay? So this is my smallest, which means since I'm doing least to greatest, I can automatically mark out B and D because it doesn't even start with the smallest fraction. Is everybody with me so far?
Kind of. Yeah.
This is going to take some practice, lots of practice before we get the hang of it and we all feel great about it. Yes.
My mom teach this to me over the summer.
Awesome. Good. Okay. My next numerator, it's either going to, okay, I've got 15 30 seconds, or I have 10, 12, 14, or 16 30 seconds. Is there a number that is smaller than 15 in any of these? Yeah, this one, and this one. So any of those should go next, which means this answer, choice C, cannot be correct because I have this fraction, and this fraction that all have a smaller numerator. So going back to that piece of pizza, okay, I have basically split this pizza up into 16 teeny, tiny parts, and then I cut those up again into 30 seconds. So you are looking, this is like 32 pieces of teeny slivers of pizza. Now listen, the reason we had to do it this way is because we've got to make it all equal. Okay, I've got to figure out, well, if I said, hold on. If I said, Blakely, I'm going to give you 9 30 seconds of this pizza. She's getting 9 tiny little slivers. And then if I said, Emerson, I'm going to give you 16 30 seconds of this pizza. Is Blakely going to be upset? Probably, because Emerson's getting more. But how would I know that unless I changed all of them to out of 30 seconds? I have to have that same denominator. I've got to change all those fractions so that it's out of the same amount. Remember, part to whole. I need my whole to match on all of them. Okay, you guys are going to try the last one on your own with your group, and then we'll check it. Red Robin. Okay, let's look at this problem below. It says, the workers at the jewelry shop make 100 necklaces every week. The table shows how many necklaces each worker makes. Okay, I've got all kinds of stuff in this table. I've got fractions, percents, and decimals. What is the first thing I need to do?
Convert them all.
Convert them all. Okay, I need to convert them all. I'm going to convert them all to decimals. So I know that 2/20 would reduce to 1/10. So this is going to be 0.1 as a decimal. If I write, you write. Sam has 30%. How do I write 30% as a decimal? Think about percents are always out of 100. 0.3. Eliza has a fifth. How much is 1/5 worth as a decimal? Yeah. 0.2. And then I already have 0.4. So now I can look at these and I can see, okay, which one's the biggest, which one is the smallest. If I have to do greatest to least, I want to put the biggest one first, which is going to be Mark at 0.4. There's only one option that starts with 0 and 4/10, and that is D.